Hi guys, this is Aztec Soccer College Style. As you know, the show that brings you all the latest in football and football-related news. And today, I'm very happy to have with me a guest, all the way from Kent in the UK, in England. Yeah, probably not a good day for England supporters. Probably a very dull day, even though it's summer there over there in England. But Mr. Kent is here. Mr. Tom Phebe is here to tell us all about it. Hi Tom, how are you, man? Welcome to the Aztec Soccer College Style studio.
How you doing? You all right?
No, we're perfect, man. We're perfect. We're perfect here on this side. Listen, Tom. Before we head into the sad stuff, I just want to quickly discuss with you the couple of questions that I posted there on our comment section. So first of all, I would like you to tell us who is Tom Phebe.
I am a 61-year-old former carer. Basically, I set up a podcast during the pandemic, and I do a lot of stuff, blogging about Arsenal Football Club. But it's generally, I'm a general football fan. The actual site is doing quite well, and we're just going over to a YouTube version of the podcast.
Okay, man. So tell me, in terms of the podcast, it's an Arsenal thing. What do you cover on that page, podcast, YouTube channel, wherever you have platforms? What do you actually cover there? Do you only cover Arsenal, or is it a broader page?
We are basically essentially an Arsenal podcast, but we invite guests on that are from other clubs. We talk about bigger issues such as racism, mental health. There's all sorts of stuff that we cover. We've got Keith Hackett, who was a former referee in the Premier League. So we try and sort of branch out, if you like. We'll be talking about the Euros on the podcast that we do tomorrow, and that will be out by the end of the week. But it's just a general kind of football chat with Arsenal included as well.
Okay, cool, man. Listen, Tom, if you can quickly just tell you about the program that we have, hashtag Soccer College Style. We also basically started with this idea in the pandemic time when when we couldn't have contact with any people out there. And I just thought it would be a great idea to start something like this because we're usually watching channels overseas like the Mark Bridges, like the Deluded Gooners, like the AFTV, and I thought let's just bring something similar back to South Africa, especially to Cape Town, the Western Cape, as we are also a very passionate um, football loving country. And you can please excuse me if I don't give you any footage of my camera because at the meet the member section, I like the member to have the full view and everyone to watch the member, not me, because I'm not the guy that, yeah, I like the camera. I do when I do when I need to do it, but I'm not the guy that likes the limelight. I just like to speak football. But especially in this section, I like to have the members' faces there, and I will just be an avatar in the background, almost like a type of digital football brain. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no problem.
yeah, we started this time a while back. Me, and a couple of friends, and it's been growing ever since. We have about 13,000 views on YouTube now. We're going for 200 members. Though we're struggling with it, it's a bit tough getting YouTube members. But yeah, it's been worthwhile. I'm standing at almost 2,000 watch hours now for the year. So yeah, I'm pushing. I'm pushing for the targets, Tom. You know the targets that we want to reach. I'm pushing for the targets. We have an Instagram page. We have a Facebook page, and then we also on YouTube. And what's the other thing? Twitter. So we're on all the social platforms, just trying to hustle and just trying to get our names out there as a South African brand. We do have a following in the UK. We have following in the Asian countries. We do have some people watching us from the US. So yeah, but most of us is only from South Africa. So 50% of my views come from South Africa, which is basically logical because I am a South African and I need to cater for my local market. But I do like some international guests also. You are probably the third one from England. So I have Mr. Farhan also on my show. What is his show's name? Gunner since '96. I have Mr. James Payne sometimes with me. And then I also have some guys in Germany and also some guys following us from Russia.
Yeah,
Enough
right.
about me. Yeah, so that is what we do, and I thank you very much for your time. So I know you're a very busy man. So let's head into the second question quickly. I don't want to keep it up too much because we also have some other stuff that we need to do. So the second question is, What are your earliest memories of football, sir? Seeing you are in England where it all started, bringing it home and all that sorts of stuff. What are your earliest memories of football?
Well, I was probably no older than about 10 when you kind of get sucked into that thing through family or friends of family where you go to a football match. So originally, because I'm from South London, the nearest club was a club called Millwall. And I went there grudgingly. I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't really my cup of tea. And then someone's uncle took me and them to Highbury. This was about 1970, probably just going into 1971. And it's the whole experience. I was talking to Tom Watt, who's an author and a broadcaster and an actor. He's just got so much talent is coming out of his ears. And he was saying about that original experience when you go to somewhere and you just connect. You don't, because you're so young, you don't remember all the matches that you saw, but it's a general experience. And when I walked up the steps to Highbury and went into the ground, that was it for me. I was sold. I'm a football fan that has come up with some of the great players: Cruyff, George Best, Bobby Moore, and I've watched the Brazilian World Cup team are probably one of my favourites from 1970 with Jairzinho, Revellino, Pele. I am a football fan, but that was my earliest memory of going to Highbury. And now, obviously, when I get the chance, when there's not a pandemic on, I go to the Emirates. You know, if I'm not talking about it, I'm watching it.
Yeah, great man. Great man. Listen, we from South Africa, we as Arsenal fans, you know I'm a big Arsenal fan. I don't know if you know, but I live and breathe Arsenal. I
Good
live and
man.
breathe Arsenal.
Very
But
good
the reason,
choice.
yeah, I know the reason for soccer colored style is because I know we don't have that huge following, and in terms of me to get some views, to get a broader perspective, I needed to go wide. But I'm not biased on my channels or any platform. I do give the limelight to the clubs that need the limelight. If someone did great work, I give it to them. I'm not going to just talk about Arsenal the whole day because let's face it, we don't have any positive news to talk about. But yeah, my memories from football. Um, it's not as great as yours. I'm going to hybrid and all that sort of stuff. I wish I can. I wish one day in my life, I wish I would just get a plane ticket, a return ticket, and say, listen, boy, come here and come watch this game live. I think then one of my bucket list items would have been yeah, crossed over if I could just reach the home of football. But with that being said, Mr. Tom, you are in a very fortunate position to be over there enjoying the football. I know it's not a great day in England. We'll get onto that later. Let's just talk about the positive stuff. Yeah, so I've been with the Gunners since 2004, 2005, just after the Invincibles. So I wasn't fortunate to listen, man. At that time in South Africa, not all people had the means or the resources to watch Premier League and those sorts of stuff. So 2005, 2004, actually about it came yeah to the normal person as we can be able to afford it right now because that time it was only for the elite previously. So the games I saw was Ruud van Nistelrooy, Dwight York, and Andy Cole at their best. Giggs and Beckham running the show, but we also had some great gunners that time. The likes of Robert Pires, Freddie Junberg, Serendos, was all Abue. You know those guys that were in the team that time. I think Abue was not in the Invincible team, but he came there about 2007 when we had the Eduardos. I went through the Yayas and no goals. I went through you hear I say Yayas and no goals, not Yayas and no goal.
I'm
So these are the
extremely privileged because I actually got to watch the likes of Dennis Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, Robert Pires, Patrick Vieira. Nothing ever has come close to that side. And as you say, the invincible side, it was an amazing period for Arsenal Football Club. From the time that Arsene Wenger took over in '96, right the way through to about 2005, they gave us the most brilliant entertainment, world-class players. It was a great time to be an Arsenal supporter. Obviously, we've hit a lull now and we're rebuilding, but that was such a sensational time. You had your rivalry with Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger, and you had those two phenomenal sides full of star players, your Beckhams, Scholes, Giggs, Keane. and then you had Arsenal with all those players I've just mentioned. It was phenomenal to watch, and it was an absolute privilege to pay money to go and see them.
Definitely, man. I can echo your thoughts. Listen, I'm just dreaming of it. Yeah, Thierry Henry was the one that actually took me over to love Arsenal because, listen, man, just the flair of the guy, the sheer pace of the guy, the way that he saw the game, the way that he knew when to sprint, when to come back, the way that he knew what the defender is gonna do, his anticipation of the ball, his anticipation of the runs, his quality on the ball, the way his touch was, the way he finished. Listen, man, he was an all-round player. No one can ever compare to him. He's not the Ronaldo and the Messi, but I think you have three brackets. I always tell people you have three brackets in football. The first football is out of this world, and then we have world class, then we have good players, right? Two guys
Yeah.
in that bracket for out of this world for me, and I think you would also agree, is Messi and Ronaldo because they are out of this world. No one would ever. I can assure you, Tom. We were fortunate to witness these two guys. Yeah, I think you witnessed Pele and Maradona's rivalry, but football wasn't that big yet, like it is now. And yeah, it was great. It was a great rivalry, but we are fortunate. I told my wife now the other day, and also some guys, you only see these type of players every 20 to 30 years. We're not going to be fortunate. Haaland and Mbappe, as people say, is going to be the next. No, they're not going to be the next. They're not going to be the next because I don't see them racking up the stats as those two living legends is racking up the stats. Just look at what Messi did. He broke his duck in winning international trophies. He was brilliant through this whole tournament. Ronaldo, as we know, is a phenomenon. This is guys that's going to score 1,000 goals, 1,000 career goals. So those two are out of this world. Then we have the world class players. The brackets like Wayne Rooney, Didier Drogba, Thierry Henry. Tom, I just want to tell you, Ashlyn is there. Hi, Ashlyn, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us. Ashlyn says, hi, Tom. This is one of the guys from Moscow. He's also a very big fan of Arsenal Football Club. Listen, Ashlyn, if you have any questions, you can just post it in the comment section for Tom. As you are our first guest joining us for this live stream, you are more than welcome. Yeah, so
See,
Tom,
the thing is that your Ronaldo's, it's not just the stats. I mean, stats are quite easy to hand out. It's the quality of his work and the consistency and the longevity. He's been a top player for many, many years now, and he's done it wherever he's gone. So
exactly.
it's amazing. Messi as well. I mean, out of a preference, I prefer Ronaldo.
Yeah.
I think he's the most complete player that we've seen in the modern age. I'll disagree with you about Wayne Rooney, though. I think he was a good player. He was a decent player, but I don't think he was world class ever.
Seriously.
Yeah, no.
Okay, let me tell you my personal criteria for world class players. Not that I'm saying it should be another guy's criteria, but my criteria for a world class player is someone that did it for his country, someone that did it for his club, someone that
Yeah,
scored goals in important games, someone with a lot of accolades behind their back, Champions Leagues, leagues, cups, and those sorts of stuff, Super Cups. Yeah, Rooney never won a World Cup for England. That's going to be mentioned later on in terms of England's performance on international level. So that is my criteria, Tom. If you performed for your team week in, week out, you were 5 seasons on fire, scoring more than 30 goals, 25 goals, and doing it for club and country. That is my bracket for world class, but that's my bracket. So that's why I'm putting Rooney there. I'm putting Didier Drogba there. I'm putting Mohamed Salah there now. I'm not so sure about Mane because Salah has also did it over a long period of time. It's now 3 seasons that it's been on. So for that, that's good players for me. Thierry Henry was, I'm sorry, world class player. Thierry Henry was a world class player, and then good players. Yeah, is the normal guys like Mount and those guys that still need to rack up the stats to go into world class. So that is just my criteria on them. But let's go to the next question. The next question I have for you, Tom, is yeah, I obviously know you support Arsenal. But why? I think you already mentioned that the day you stepped into Wembley, I mean into Highbury, you were sold. But could you just elaborate a little bit more?
yeah. It's kind of why you support a club is very difficult to sort of underline. but it was just the general feeling of going to Arsenal Football Club, the style of football, the whole package, the experience of going to Highbury. After I'd been 2 or 3 times, it became almost like an addiction of going there when I could afford to go. It's meant so much to me over the years. I've been to various FA Cup finals. I went to the 1979 FA Cup final at the old Wembley, which was Manchester United versus Arsenal. And sadly, I was up the wrong end. Someone gave me a ticket and I was up the Man United end. And we just nicked a goal in the last couple of seconds and it ended 3-2. It's one of those things that it becomes a passion and that you relate to a particular team. And Arsenal, especially, I mean, it was very passionate sort of relationship back then. But when we got to the Wenger years, as I said to you, it was the most amazing time. And that cemented everything about entertainment, the type of football I enjoyed. We don't play it so much now. But at that particular time, we were one of the top 2 clubs in the country and we were one of the top clubs in the world. And we still, I mean, generally, football fans, everyone's heard of Arsenal. You know, they will, those that are fortunate and old enough to remember the Wenger years will remember them fondly because what we're seeing with Manchester City now and Liverpool, Arsenal did that years ago. This free-flowing attacking style, we were doing that back in 1996, 97. And it's just one of those things. You embrace a club, you absorb it, you become part of it, going there, supporting, talking about it, you know, doing podcasts on it. Whatever way you can do it, it becomes almost fanatical and like a religion.
Most definitely. Thank you, Tom, for the elaboration on why you support Arsenal. I do echo your thoughts. I think we had some magnificent nights at Highbury. I think we had some magnificent nights in the new Emirates Stadium. The likes of Arshavin. I remember that game when Barcelona came to us. It was Arshavin and Samir Nasri and those boys running the show. And Jack Wilshere at that time and that night, people dubbed Jack Wilshere to become one of the greatest midfielders on earth in this planet. I don't know if you remember that game. He was bossing Xavi, he was bossing Iniesta around, he was taking the ball, driving to them. Yeah, but that's a talk for another show when we're going to speak strictly about Arsenal. I want to talk about a couple of guys. I want to talk about Theo. I want to talk about all the guys that left us. But before I get to that question, a lot of guys has left us over the few years before I go to England. A lot of guys has left us over the years. Signing for another English clubs and those sorts of stuff, which really hurt us. But what signing to you was the most hurtful? Can I say mine first before you give yours?
Yeah, sure.
Can I say mine first? The most hurtful signing for me was the time that when Percy left us. I'm going to give you my reasons for that. I think the season prior to that, we were developing him to become one of the greatest footballers the Premier League and the world has ever seen. He was hitting his peak. He was 2 seasons scoring 25 goals plus. And the 3rd season, we actually acquired some players to feed him in terms of to lead us to that trophy, because we knew as Arsenal fans that this is the season when Percy is going to step up and give us that trophy. And Walcott was also chipping in with goals as well as Rambo. But that was for me the most hurtful one. Him going to Sir Alex Ferguson with that vein of confidence, with that form of goal scoring, and going on and winning the Premier League for them. That was my most hurtful one.
I totally agree with you. Robin van Persie, unfortunately, when he came to Arsenal, he showed a lot of promise. He rarely played a whole season. We got one really good season out of him. And after that, he moved on. And that was really disappointing. But my one that still hurts to this day was Ashley Cole. He was the best left back in the world. Arsenal brought him through the academy. They made him a superstar. And I think he went into contract negotiations. He was earning something like about 20-something thousand a week. And then he nearly crashed his car because he heard on the radio it had been leaked that he was going to be awarded £55,000 a week. Now, I thought he would crash his car with the excitement of earning that type of money. But he was totally disappointed. What he did then was disgusting and disgraceful because he went behind the scenes, opened up negotiations with Chelsea, and this was all behind the club's back, and eventually he left. and they used to, when Arsenal played Chelsea, throw £5 notes down with Ashley Cole's face on them and call him Cashley Cole. And he sold us out, and that really, really hurt. He was one of our own. Even now, when he talks about Arsenal, it's through gritted teeth. He obviously feels that the club had let him down, but the club gave him everything and made him a star. And that one really annoys me. Then you've got the Alexis Sanchez issue. That's the same thing, trying to orchestrate a move that was worth more money. And that he was treated like a god at Arsenal. And as bad as this sounds, what befell him after that, when he went to Man United, and I think he scored 4 goals in his entire time there, I think that was justified. His career, sometimes these players, they don't know when they're well off and their career dips. As Van Persie left us, he had a couple of good seasons at United, and then he kind of went downhill. And that's exactly what has happened to Sanchez. Ashley Cole was probably one of those ones that stands out, that went on to win a lot of things. But I totally. Sometimes these players, they just earn too much money and they get this star status and ego, and that's what brings them down. But Ashley Cole, for me, very, very disappointed with that chap and can't forgive him to this day.
Okay, man. Just to add on that also, Ashley Cole's 155k that time wasn't a bad deal, right? That was some good money. There are some players that's not even earning 55k right now, if I'm not mistaken, at the Arsenal camp. So that was.
Well, if you think that £55,000 was years ago, so it's a lot of money by today's standards.
That's what I said. It wasn't bad money back then. It was almost like today's 80 to 90,000 or 120 grand actually a week. But Tom, let's just go on because we can chat the whole day about football from the day to the morning. But we have a show and some questions that need to be answered. Let's now head into the England part of it, where stuff didn't go so well. So I pose the question: where did it go wrong, Tom?
Well, obviously it went well for 2 minutes. I think England were in the game after about 15 minutes. They were really bringing it to the Italians. After that period, by about the 30th minute, you could see that the Italians were starting to assume control, basically from the midfield. And that carried on. You kind of felt that there would be an opportunity for the Italians to get back in it. I think the formation was all right to start with, but I think it needed tweaking. I think in the second half, I would have reverted to a flat back 4. I would have made the substitutions earlier. They were about 10, 15 minutes late. I would have got the ball. I would have just given the instruction to get the ball out to Saka and Grealish as quick as possible. It was all about pace, really, to get behind the Italian backline, which was superb, by the way. But the thing is that I think England just lost their way. If you notice in the first half, for about the first half an hour, 20 minutes or whatever, there was a lot of passing going on right throughout the pitch. And then the Italians hit their stride, and basically you could see the difference in the second half. At one stage, Italy put together 24 passes, and England just put together 4, and they resorted to trying to lob the ball over the top, and that didn't work. He gambled away, and basically he didn't win. And I don't think the side was strong enough. Italy had the upper hand up front where they could take their chances, but they controlled from the midfield and obviously mopped up at the back. I don't think we were a serious threat up until the 90th minute, and we were kind of fortunate in a way to get to the 90th minute, let alone the penalties and everything else.
Yeah, listen, man, I just want to, before I put my 5 cents in it, and also ask you your player ratings as we go through the player ratings of The Guardian. I just want to know, do you agree with them? Do you not disagree, or what would you give the player? But Ashton the Cock, the guy joining us from Russia, has a comment. Tom, Southgate, it was a gamble, but if we gambled early, we may have lost the game in normal time anyway, on the late Sancho and Rashford subs. Did he set up for penalties, and why? That's what Ashton wants to know.
That's the one, isn't it? The penalties looked a bit shambolic to me, and I think I agree with Roy Keane, because Roy Keane said that there were more established players that could have taken the penalties. Raheem Sterling could have taken one. Jack Grealish could have taken one. Instead of putting the pressure on the likes of Saka, Sancho, and Rashford. It's such a shame. The backlash today in the UK has been terrible on social media. A lot of racist comments and totally unnecessary. It's kind of embarrassing. Put the football aside to 1 minute. The behaviour of the England fans has been despicable, really disgusting. And I don't think these lads, they should have been a last resort. You should have pushed them right to the back. The Rashford penalty, I think he froze. I think the occasion got to him because he did that stuttered run and then he kind of just, he didn't know what to do. And the Italian goalkeeper, he's massive. He's like the length of a train. And you've got to really do a convincing penalty to get past him. You've got to put a lot of power in. You've got to be sure where you're going to put that ball. Anything half-hearted was never going to get past him. But it's a real shame. I would have, had I been the luxury of being Gareth Southgate, I would have come up with a list and said I would have picked the people I wanted to take those penalties. And even though these young lads put their hand up to take these penalties, he knows what that cost him personally, Gareth Southgate, because he missed at a very young age. Now that could have lasting effects on these three lads, and they're all good quality players and immensely nice people. Saka is absolutely devastated, and as an Arsenal fan, he just needs a massive cuddle and to be told that it's going to be all right. And then he gets all this racist abuse. It's just a disgrace. It's a shambles.
Yeah, listen, Tom, man. I called it before the final. I spoke to some guys. I didn't actually put it on social media, but I knew it was going to happen. I told these guys, listen, guys, it could go one or two ways. If England were to win the Euros, there would be no talk about anything. Everyone would be great. All the players would be fantastic. It would be heroes and all those sorts of stuff. But if England lose, I can assure you, those three boys, they're going to be called monkeys. Every black player in England is going to be called monkeys. But if we just take a look at it quickly, you would see that these are actually the guys that stood out, and these were the guys that took England to these finals. And that is really terrible for me as a supporter from this side, because we are all predominantly colored people from this side. We are also black people. And just to see the type of racism, Tom, coming through to the players, it's not good, man. I know it's going to happen. Racism is never out of football. We always have this type of people who's not objective about football, but they just want to give their own racist comments. What possibly could they have to say about Rashford and Saka? Like you said, these are young boys. Rashford went up stuttering. Rashford came on the last 2 minutes just to score a penalty. And he knew he was being put on just for penalties because he's just a quota player. Saka was tremendously throughout this whole tournament. I really rate him highly. I rate our boy highly. I think he did a brilliant job, Tom, in representing Arsenal, because there were no Arsenal players there. So, yeah, for me, I think racist abuse is not fair. We're going to take a look later at Saka's statement regarding the racist abuse. I just want to quickly go into the player ratings as we head on. So, Tom, we have the player ratings here. For England, Jordan Pickford got a 9. Fine save from Chisa and Verratti in normal time. Superb penalty save from Belotti and Jorginho in the shootout, but to no avail, left in despair. Would you give him a 9?
My man of the match, man of the tournament for England would be Raheem Sterling. I think he was absolutely amazing. It's a shame. It's a lot of people today looking at the England performance are going to say that Harry Kane didn't perform, Raheem Sterling didn't perform, but that's down to the Italian setup. For me, they blocked them out. They cancelled them out. Raheem Sterling is a better player than you saw last night, without a doubt. Yeah. And, we couldn't have gone to the final without Raheem Sterling. Yeah. But Italy set themselves up, and once they grew into the game, they cancelled out the threat. Now, what we needed in the second half was to actually bring on a new threat and change the shape, and we didn't. And that's what cost us that game. In the second half, we didn't even show up. I mean, I can't remember one attack of any purpose. But yeah, Raheem Sterling stands out. Saka had a great tournament. Jordan Pickford, apart from one game, which was the Denmark game, he was really solid. And he kept us in it last night to a point until we missed the penalties. But for me, Sterling, fantastic performance, really showed what he's about.
Okay, then I'm gonna quickly take your three centre backs as one, and just gonna give you the ratings. They say Kyle Walker, he's aware of danger, impressed once more, enjoyed a gripping tussle against Insigne and Emerson. John Stones outmuscled by Cellini for the equaliser, but was otherwise dominant in the air and made several vital interceptions. He got the 8. Harry Maguire overcame a nervous start to deliver another solid defensive display, cut out several dangerous crosses and scored a superb penalty. So 2 8s for John Stones got the 8, Harry Maguire got the 8, and Kyle Walker got the 7. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't. John Stones was probably on a par with Harry Maguire. I don't think it was their finest game at all by any stretch of the imagination. Kyle Walker, I always appreciate his speed. He normally digs us out of a hole. Someone else I'd like to mention who's not on that list is Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw's goal was absolutely stunning. And he's actually surprised me because I'm not a Luke Shaw fan. He had all that trouble with Jose Mourinho at Man United, and he never really showed what he was about. But having seen him for England, I mean, you've got to say he's a fantastic talent on the left, whether he be in an advanced position in a back five or he becomes a traditional left back. But Harry Maguire, I think he did well to even get back in the side because he had injuries. I'm not sure about the partnership with John Stones. Sometimes it looks solid. Sometimes it looks like they've never played together. Kyle Walker, he's at that age now where he's probably on his last few years with England, and they'll have to find someone to replace him. But he had a really sound tournament, really sound.
Okay, Luke Shaw, just to add, a first England goal for the first attack, beautiful first time touches and defensively sound, first class, number 9. Then on the other hand, we had Kieran Trippier. Southgate defensive switch had the opposite effect as the wingback excelled in attack before fading in the second half. Would you agree? Do you think Southgate got it right with substituting Kieran Trippier for Bukayo Saka?
No. Trippier did well for about 15 minutes. He looked like a reasonable threat, but as the game went on, he faded. But so did England. The passes disintegrated. There were no more than 2 or 3 passes. So I would have replaced Trippier in a tactical change earlier, reverted to a back four, tried to put some life into that midfield and down the flanks. It's all ifs, buts, cherries and nuts, isn't it? You know, after the event. But there wasn't a standout performance England-wise yesterday. You could probably put Pickford at the top of the list because he saved a couple of penalties. But other than that, if you look round, there was very little to separate some of the players. I think that basically Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips got overwhelmed in the midfield. But in a couple of years' time, when they've got more experience, they'll be able to handle that type of stuff. But I would have replaced one probably earlier on. I didn't see the beginning with the teams, but had he been fit, I don't know whether he was or he wasn't, but Phil Foden would have been an opportunity to put Phil Foden on instead of certain players, especially down the left or the right. I think he would have caused havoc.
Yeah, most definitely. Let's get into our midfield partnership, the defensive midfielders of Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. Calvin Phillips, tireless in keeping Italy's threat at arm's length, unable to stretch them with his passing, but stifled them physically. He got an 8. Declan Rice offered more than Phillips offensively, but largely succeeded in his main task of stopping Italy slicing through, exhausted when substituted. Those two got an 8. How would you rate their performance, especially Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice, who isn't from big clubs, but they still got to start in the European final? I think that's kudos to Gareth Southgate and the work he's trying to do.
Yeah, they're very promising players, and it's a shame, really, because had they had an extra 5 years of experience, I think they would have coped better. But I think the Italian setup, it was very well worked. I mean, you don't go 33 games without losing. There's got to be something there that's solid. And they did a superb job. They overwhelmed those two lads. Out of the pair, I prefer Phillips. He goes a little bit under the radar. He does a lot of the dirty work, getting a foot in, retrieving the ball. But it got to a stage where the tide was too strong and they both wilted. And Declan Rice in particular, when he was substituted, I actually called the substitution before he was taken off. I said to my wife, I think he's going to go. He'll be the one that's taken off. And we just didn't have that experience in the middle that you could rely on. They were young lads. And that's not a criticism of them being young. It will come in time, but they've been exceptional players, really.
Okay. Then we have Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane, Mason Mount, those last three in the attack. Raheem Sterling worried Italy's defenders with his pace, but not at his potent best. When looking for another penalty, when he should have stayed on his feet. Yeah, he went to dive, he got the 6. Very harsh. Harry Kane summed up England's display sharp, prominent, and on the front foot in the first half, but faded thereafter, which is very true. Mason Mount industry could not be faulted, but little creative influence could have been replaced earlier. What are your thoughts on those three?
Mason Mount stuck out for me as being the one player that was out of his depth fairly quickly. He was there or thereabouts, but he didn't do enough for me. I would have had him off probably at half time and tried something different. I think he seems quite an angry young lad as well, doesn't he? If anyone tackles him, there's a little bit of argy-bargy, he gets really annoyed, and you kind of think to yourself, oh, be careful, there's going to be a yellow or a red card. He's got that temperament. I've seen him in other footage as well on YouTube, and he does seem like he's got to have that little bit of temperament taken out of him. But again, it's, the front three with Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane and Mason Mount, they were nullified. They were nullified by a very well-drilled Italian team. They just had their number. They knew how to block them out. And as I say, we resorted to trying to thump balls down the line or over the top, which was not what we were doing in the first half. When we were playing well, we were putting passes together, long and short passes. And in the second half, when it all started unraveling, we resorted to these hoofs over the top. But I would have replaced Mason Mount. You can't replace Harry Kane because he could get you a goal. Raheem Sterling, I agree, he went to ground a couple of times and there was nothing in it. And that's not the type of player he is, because he's better than that. He's got pace, he's got trickery. And at one stage, I think it was in extra time, I was absolutely leaping out the seat because he cut into the box on an angle. And I thought, here we go. This is it. He's going to lay it off. And it came to nothing. It just fizzled out. And that's pretty much the tale of the second part of that saga between Italy and England, is England just fizzled out. They couldn't find a way through. They didn't change quickly enough. They should have changed shape and formation, and they should have substituted earlier. And we are where we are. But congratulations to Italy. I think best team by far. They just knew how to get through a match, and they've done that year after year after year.
Okay, Tom. Quickly, your thoughts on the substitutes. I'm not going to give any ratings on them. Bukayo Saka, Jordan Henderson, Jack Grealish, Marcus Rashford, and Jadon Sancho. What are your thoughts on those substitutes, man?
Rashford and Sancho, I mean, that was an interesting one, wasn't it? They were brought in on the sort of death of the match, and I assume it was just for the penalties, really, which didn't work out too well. Henderson, I think that was our only option to replace Declan Rice, really. Grealish and Saka should have come on earlier. I think once we got to half-time, I felt that in the second half, we needed to change something drastically to give them something else to think about. And we didn't do that. So it played into Italy's hands. It just let them get away with whatever they wanted to do. We allowed them to do that. Now, that's not where we should have been. We should have come out all guns blazing in the second half with maybe a different shape, just to confuse them and take the game to them for 10, 15 minutes. And maybe we would have got another goal. Ifs and buts again, but I think the substitutes needed to be made at half time.
Okay, cool, man. Tom, let's just head into our last question before we head out of this little session, which has been brilliant. I would like to have chat with you the whole day. But yeah, we can make it another time. You can invite me to your show. I can, or you can come on my show, and a couple of your friends, they can join us as we do some watch along
Yeah, cool.
in the near future for Arsenal. But I'm very happy to meet you. And let's just head into our last little question. Arsenal transfer deals and rumors. But before we do that, let's just see what Bukayo Saka has to say on the official club statement about racism. Like I told you, we need to head into that quickly. So there's our little chili. Yeah, what can I say? Last night we saw Bukayo Saka reach the Euro 2020 at final at the age of 19 years old. Bukayo has been with us since he was 7, and the whole club couldn't have been prouder to see him represent England throughout the tournament. You could feel it right across the club. That's true because you could feel it right across the world. Even us as Arsenal fans, we're really happy to have him in that team. Out there, outshining the likes of Jadon Sancho, Foden, Grealish. You understand what I'm saying? Big name players, but he still stepped up. Last night we witnessed the leadership and character we've always known and loved in the little boy. However, this feeling of pride quickly turned to sorrow as the racist comments our young player was subjected to on social media platforms after the final whistle. Once again, we are sad to have to say we condemn racism and a number of black players. This cannot continue, and the social media platforms and authorities must act to ensure this disgusting abuse to which our players are subjected to on a daily basis stops now. We have we have processed the place internally at Arsenal to ensure our players are supported both emotionally and practically on this issue, but sadly there is only so much we can do. Our message to Bukaya is hold your head up high, boy. We are very proud of you and we cannot wait to welcome you back to Arsenal soon. What do you make of that statement?
I think it was a decent thing for the club to come out and do that. He will need key figures around him at Arsenal. He will need the support of genuine football fans, not this hate mob, these trolls that hop on when something doesn't go right. I mean, the mentality that I have personally is that, you know, through thick and thin, you support your team. And if that happens to be Arsenal or if that happens to be England, they play well, they got to a final, and it all goes wrong. They did their bit. They did as much as they could do. They gave as much as they could. You can't suddenly turn around and then start bringing the colour of someone's skin into it. That
Yeah,
doesn't work for me. You're not a football fan. You're one of these people that likes instant. It's like an instant mash. You pour water on it, and if it's the right consistency, that's fine. You'll eat it. But if it doesn't, you complain about the product itself. You know, it's not right to do this. These are young, impressionable players. Uh, Saka, 19, he's got so much potential, and he's shown that this season. And he didn't get a full season. But to burden these young people with all the guilt, but we've seen this before, and it was a different scene. It was in the World Cup with David Beckham. I remember when he did this kind of back. He was on flat on the floor, and his leg came up and contacted with an Argentinian player, and he was sent off. And they had effigies hanging from trees, burning shirts, and all that sort of thing. Now that wasn't a racist thing, but it was disgusting behaviour. And I thought that would have kind of fizzled out. But it seems after the pandemic, racism has got worse. The FA
yeah,
haven't acted. And until you start prosecuting these people, until you start hurting them in their pockets or jailing them, then it's not going to get any better. The time for talk is over. Going down on one knee is not going to solve this problem. It needs to be dealt with, and dealt with so that people understand that you cannot do this. If you are on social media and you're citing someone's skin, the color of their skin, and slagging them off, then I think you've got to be prosecuted. We've got to get a lot stronger. We've got to get rid of this before it gets 10 times worse.
most definitely, Tom. Thank you very much for that comment and also that statement that you left on soccer colored style for the people that's watching and the people that's going to view this video afterwards. Thank you for that comment. Now, Tom, some happy news. Some happy news. Maybe not so happy for us, but at least business is being done. I know we do have some done deals and some rumors. Apparently, the deal for Lagonga is almost 90% done. He's done his medical at London or wherever he's done his medical. And also we have this guy Nuno Tavares. Yeah, I just want to go into him. What do you say about him? What do you know about him? Do you think he would be an asset to Arsenal?
I've watched him quite a bit recently when I knew we were interested, and I've got a connection that keeps me up to date with possible transfer news from
Yeah,
inside the club.
yes,
And this was quite a strong one, Nuno Tavares. And I've watched him subsequently since. He's a really strong, athletic character. He's the type of player that Wenger would have had in a heartbeat. He can move. He's got great feet, great vision, and he can blast the ball. As cover for Kieran Tierney, I mean, they were saying that we were looking at Bertrand from Southampton, and he's at an age really where it's just a temporary thing. This lad, I think, is 21. I might be wrong with that, but
yeah,
he's young. I think we could push him actually forward in advance of a back three, and he's got the speed, the pace, and the vision to cause problems. It's a great signing. It's quite cheap, which is what Arsenal are into, so it ticks that box. But he's
yeah.
very athletic, got a lot of potential, and I like him. Everything I've seen about him on YouTube, fantastic player, and it's a good purchase.
Okay, man. Listen, then I'm just gonna read the comments about what he said. Personally about himself, I'm fast, I'm good at shooting with my right foot, but I'm left-footed. Tavares told Arsenal.com, I can dribble, improvising, that's my qualities, my technique. I have more qualities and I will find more at this club. I'm so excited because it's a big club for me, and as you know, I'm a young guy. It is a pleasure to be added here. Um, when I finished the season, my agent told me that Arsenal were interested in me. In the first instance, I was very happy, and after this, I dreamt about it. I spoke to my mom. I was so excited to be here, and now I'm ready and so happy. Mikel and Edu helped me so much. They speak to me every time and call me, and I feel people want me here. I like that people. I need this power, and I'm so grateful for this. So I'm also happy with the statement that he gave because this is the qualities that we want in a player: young, agile, fast, left foot, right foot. He has a lot of qualities, as you said, and he's still going to show us a lot more. So away from Nuno Tavares, what can you tell us on the Logonga deal and some other rumors that you may be aware of from your source within the club?
Lokonga is a great buy for Arsenal. I think he is the upgrade. We've been looking for Granit Xhaka. He brings an athleticism to the side. He's a powerful and strong-looking player. He's very good at retrieving the ball. He doesn't give up. He's one of these players who's as good in defence as he is going forward. So it gives us options. My problem with Xhaka was he was an expensive round peg in a square hole. It never really worked out for him or the club. We needed an upgrade. And the only other upgrade I could think of is Basuma for Brighton. But it
Yeah,
obviously looks like we're within a whisker of closing this deal. And I think it's brilliant because himself and Partey will be a phenomenal pairing. Both retrievers of the ball. It will allow Partey a little bit more latitude, and hopefully they'll be able to find a balance between going forward and staying in defence. But they are very gifted players. I'm really excited by these two new additions. The only one we're looking for now is a creative midfielder. That would be great. Ruben Neves has been mentioned. But that doesn't look like it's a done deal. We're still exploring the opportunities with James Maddison at Leicester,
yeah,
and there's also Hassim Awar from Lyon. So if it was me, I'd probably shut the door on Awar because he was a potential target for us last season, and by all accounts, he didn't want to come. So I would shut that door off and start looking for other people that actually want to play for the badge. I've got a nasty feeling that he's going to be one of these people that plays for himself, and it's all about his own sort of image and the money. And a friend of mine has watched him for Lyon and said he doesn't really rate him, and he watches a lot of foreign football, and he said he's been very ordinary. Otherwise, we're looking at White coming,
yeah.
so that
Ben
would
White
be a
from
good
also from
version.
Brighton. Ben White
Yeah,
that's also
well,
coming from Brighton.
Apparently, he is. The deal is very, very close. So that'd be great to get that done and give us a centre half option. But the big disappointment in all this is William Saliba, who I thought was going to form a partnership with Gabriel. Now it's all up in the air with White coming in. I mean, who's his partner? You know, Holding's too flat-footed and too slow for me, so I think he's going to go. Pablo Mari, they're talking about loaning him out. So it's Gabriel at the moment. It's quite an odd one, William Saliba, because he's got all the talent, and if you watch him in certain games, he looks as though it's a no-brainer. You get him over and you put him in an Arsenal side, but there's obviously something behind the scenes, and I've heard it's attitude. I don't know whether that's true, but I've heard it's attitude and application. Having been an Arsenal fan for some time, I remember the days of Nicolas Anelka, when Nicolas Anelka was with us. He had a stonking attitude and he carried that from club to club.
French players have this type of attitude. Sorry, Tom, to cut your word there, but French players, they do have this type of cocky attitude. And also Guendouzi also had it with him. But I think Arteta has a certain vendetta against French players. But yeah, with that being said, I do echo your thoughts on William Saliba. I'm very sad for him because I do rate him as a great player. I thought that he would have done great works at Arsenal. Now we have to sign new right backs for new partnerships, which is really terrible. Tom, just to finish up, man, we have signed this boy Arthur on Konongwa that's on your screen currently. Do you have anything on your scouting reports about him?
No, it's all gone a bit cold on that one. I've heard he's an exceptional player, and it's just a case of finding a space for him. And the interesting one that we've got coming up next season is that we've extended Balogun's contract. How are we going to accommodate him and keep him happy with Lacazette and Aubameyang? You know, one's got to go. It doesn't work out for me. Nketiah, I think they'll sell. But for me, you've got two players there. I like Lacazette and I like Aubameyang. Aubameyang didn't deliver last time out, and Lacazette is a different kind of player. But if you're going to accommodate Balogun, then one's got to go.
Okay. Listen, man, Tom, thank you very much for your views. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. It's been awesome having you on Soccer Colored Style. Thank you very much for the viewer that joined us for this little session. And I hope next time it will be much, much more. Listen, Tom, is there anything you would like to say to us as a community, as a football-loving community, and also to the Hashtag Soccer Colored Style fans that will be watching the show afterwards?
I'd just like to wish everyone well and stay safe and enjoy your football. It's kind of going to all get back to normal this season. Thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to following your progress.
Thank you very much, Tom. It's been a pleasure having you, a guy of your caliber, on our show, a guy that's been a football lover since whenever, since the Stone Ages. And we really appreciate you, Tom. We really appreciate you. I hope your kid is good. I hope your family is good. Send my best regards to them. Keep them safe. And until we chat again, man, this is Hashtag Soccer Colored Style signing out.
Thanks very much. Cheers.